I love that we got a game so big that we're on main Fox.
That's
tonight.
right. In prime time. Don't get confused. That doesn't mean 11 o'clock. That means prime time. Joel Klatt.
The other prime time.
What is up, Klatt?
What's going on? How are we doing, boys?
Doing awesome. Thank you. Klatt joins us each week courtesy of mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag. Don't forget code next round. We're split on the table here. A lot of times these Thursday night games, I mean, they may not be competitive. It's just, hey, we're happy to have football. This is a tough game for Penn State, in my opinion, going to West Lafayette.
I think so too. Listen, Penn State's more talented than Purdue. They've got more length, speed, all those different things. But it's really hard to quantify what Aiden O'Connell means for Purdue and that passing game for Jeff Brom. I think that is something that is really, really top end in college football. It goes under the radar in a lot of respects. And some people have said, well, I don't think that this year without David Bell, their wide receiver who got drafted, I don't think their passing game will be as good. But, in this day and age, you can kind of reload quietly through the transfer portal. And they got a couple of guys from Iowa who, by the way, literally bounced because they were like, hey, this offense sucks. We're leaving. We're going to get some catches. So Tyrone Tracy comes back to Indiana. Indiana, this is where he's from. He was an Indiana Gatorade Player of the Year in high school. He comes back from Iowa. Charlie Jones, great returner. He comes back. They've got a guy that played really well in the bowl game against Tennessee in that win over Tennessee, Brock Thompson. But O'Connell is a guy that in the last half of last season was as good as anybody. I mean, he had 2 games of over 500 yards. They can throw it, man. So, yeah, this is a tough one. And in particular, guys, you understand, weeknights for a favorite or kind of a blue blood on the road, those tend to be kind of those trap games. Mm-hmm. And so this one should be pretty good tonight.
I'm a little surprised. We all remember back in the day when Penn State could really run the football.
Yeah, I know.
And last year, just 106 yards per game, 13th in the Big Ten. Do you think the offense is different this year?
I think they'll be better running the ball. They were terrible running the ball. I mean, awful. And that's a big reason why I think Sean Clifford struggled so much, their quarterback, who's been there since I was 4 years old. They got the best running back in the country. Everybody wanted Nick Singleton, the number 1 running back in the country. And he went to Penn State. I think he makes a big difference, to be honest. I think that he is a guy that can help fix the run game. They feel like they're better up front, although they've got some new faces there. They also have another true freshman, Katron Allen, that they say has had a phenomenal camp. And so from a personnel perspective, they feel like they're much better suited to go out there and succeed. And in fact, they've been saying, and James Franklin told us, he was like, hey, Nick Singleton has been doing Saquon Barkley stuff in the weight room. And I was like, wow, I mean, this ain't a CrossFit competition, so I don't really care what he does. I want to see what he does on the football field. Violent runner, big, downhill. They said he runs with the same type of anger. They didn't want to compare him to Adrian Peterson, but that type of physical, knees, elbows, rolling ball of butcher knife style runner. I'm interested to see him play. If he gets their run game in general back on track, this is a team that should win 8, 9, maybe even 10 games and play at the upper echelon of the Big Ten. If they don't fix it, they will continue to be what I feel like is kind of a 500 program, which is what they've been over the last couple of years when they've been unable to figure out that run game.
Okay, you played the position, and for those of us that did not play at your level, 100,000 people who watch football never played the college game. Explain to us, for Sean Clifford, how having a good running game helps him. Does it slow things down for him? Does it make the defense do something that opens it up for him? Why does that help a quarterback like Sean Clifford more than maybe play calling or great receivers?
Yeah, so the biggest advantage that a quarterback can have is when the offense has the ability to put defenders, in particular at the second level, in conflict. And that conflict produces space, and space produces completions. And when you don't have the ability to put those defenders in conflict, and they're not respecting one element of your offense, what ends up happening is that the windows tighten, your timing tightens, and the overall pressure and anxiety that you feel as a quarterback goes way up. When that happens, generally you have to, on a more frequent basis, get to the number 2 and number 3 in your progression, because the windows are tighter, the looks are a little bit more muddy. Your ability to throw on rhythm is taken away. And so you've got to get to number 2, you've got to get to number 3, you've got to make post-snap reads. And what ends up happening is that you face more traffic in the pocket. All of that increases the pressure on a quarterback from a mental side, from a physical side, and it's just more difficult to play efficiently. It's just more difficult to throw for 65% or 68% versus 58%. That's what makes it so difficult. And then when you can run the football and they're having to respect what you're doing, it does a couple of things. One, you put those defenders in conflict and you increase the space in order to complete the ball. And then 2, you're throwing on more advantageous downs. See, when you're throwing the ball when you want to versus when you have to, it makes a completely different feeling for a quarterback in the pocket. When you're throwing the ball because you have to, it's just hard. And then when you throw the ball when you want to, you generally are successful. You can throw on rhythm and you create big plays.
I love giving $1 million ideas for 2023. It's too late now. Animated. When I grew up, when I fell in love with ice hockey in the South, we had a thing called Peter Puck, who explained to me the rules and nuances of hockey. Animated Joel Klatt drops one bit of knowledge on Fox broadcast in 2023 that helps the novice understand the game a little bit better. Animated Joel Klatt in 2023 in the Fox broadcast. It'd be really good.
What was the puck name?
Peter
what was
Puck.
The puck's name?
Peter Puck.
Peter Puck.
Yeah, it was
Why
animated.
Is Brian covering his mouth?
Yeah.
Is this a joke?
No, it's a true story.
Is this like Klatt Monkey?
No.
You want me to come out as Klatt Monkey? Hey, look at Klatt Monkey. Oh, he's about to talk about quarterback.
Now a Klatt Monkey animation would be really good.
And he drops a banana.
All right.
Yeah, that would be good.
It's like it's like I go to Angels games with my boys, and they still roll out the rally monkey like Garrett Anderson's about to walk through that clubhouse, which he ain't. I can tell you that. But like every 7th inning stretch, they put the monkey up, and it's like, oh! And it's like I could just drop down like that. I think we're onto something here.
I would love to have said that. I'm Joel Klatt.
Joel Klatt. You want some pancakes? Pancakes.
Klatt with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline tonight. Penn State and Purdue on main Fox. Klatt presented each week by MyBookie.ag. Code next round, MyBookie.ag. Code next round. You see it at the bottom of the screen there. Kyle Whittingham does what that will make this really complicated for Florida? I think the guy's a really good, solid head coach, maybe even better than good and solid. I'm probably insulting him with those words. What makes this such a tough game? I know.
That was very Southern of you.
Very SEC insulting the Pac-12 guy. Yep.
He ain't down here with our boys.
No, he's not. He's not.
So
that is established.
I don't know what those foo guys at altitude are doing, but hey, he ain't one of us.
Now, is he like the rest of the Pac-12? Do they eat tofu for the pregame meal, or is he going to eat a real meal?
Hummus.
This is, by the way, this is the reason why Utah is right now the class of the Pac-12 is because they are not a hummus football team. While the rest of the Pac-12 is on hummus and carrots, Utah is still like getting after it, right? And they're having real meals. They're physical. They're very physical. I think that's what's going to surprise Florida is the physical nature that Utah will bring to that game. I think Utah is an excellent team. When you look at what Cam Rising, their quarterback, has done for them, I screw this stat up all the time, but I think they were like 9-1 with him as a starter last year. After he kind of like they went with Charlie Brewer, remember the Baylor transfer, and then it just wasn't working out well early in the season. They went to Cameron Rising, and they really transformed themselves. They're good running the football. They've got some talented skill position players, which is, I think, rare for them, at least from a historical standpoint. And then they're always great on defense. I think that's going to surprise Florida is the length and physicality that they're going to see from Utah. I think Utah is the better team and should beat Florida. I don't know if they will. That's a tough trip. It's going to be a tough environment. There's no doubt. I think Florida will definitely be ready to play. I will say this, though. That game brings mind to just like, this sport is crazy. Here we have like Michigan and Ohio State are going to play 4 true road games this year. 4. That's it. Meanwhile, Utah is going to play 6 true road games. Like, how is this the same sport? One of them being at Florida. The only team in the SEC that's going to play 6 true road games, I know this is going to surprise you guys, Vanderbilt. I know. Wild. Mind-blowing, right? Like, because the SEC just does a better job of scheduling for success, and in particular with their favorites. Oregon's got to go on the road basically 6 times this year, if you count, the game in Atlanta against Georgia as a true road game, which I'm going to. I know that blows people's mind as well. That's not a neutral site. Weird, I know, but that's not a neutral site. So, the scheduling quirks in this sport, I think, are too great right now, and it's leading to a lack of parity. Because the bottom line for me is that if Utah, which is the favorite in the Pac-12, can't beat what many people think is going to be a middle-of-the-road SEC team this year, why is the Pac-12 going to get into the playoff?
It's a great
question. But if they do beat them, another fascinating game is.
By the way, it's a lose-lose for Florida. You beat them, and all of you people that are going to be like, well, they should. Florida's no good. They lose, and you guys are going to be like, just wearing your SEC gear, and you're just going to be chanting SEC like in your cars, drinking coffee. You guys practice your SEC chant. It's ridiculous.
Hey, Joel, I'm on the Utah bandwagon. I've got them in the college football playoff. I had them in it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They were 1 game away.
They're good.
I think they're that good. Okay, Cincinnati, Arkansas. Cincinnati loses a ton. Ritter, Alec Pierce was a great wide receiver. You lose 2 cornerbacks to the NFL. This Arkansas team always overachieves. What gives in this game?
I like this game. I think that this is sneaky, like the best matchup of the weekend. I don't know if you agree or not. I really like what Coach Pittman has done at Arkansas. He's made them tougher. That bowl game, when they beat up on Penn State, they were more physical. They were fast. I like KJ Jefferson. I like what they do on the offensive side. I think this is going to be really difficult for Cincinnati because one thing that we've seen is, yes, they've done a nice job. They've recruited, and Luke Fickell's an excellent coach, but their success in large part has mirrored, Desmond Ritter being there and those great corners being there, and they've been able to play great defense and do things well. I like Cincinnati as a program. That's a really tough ask to go up against a team that I think is going to be bigger and faster, longer, that has coming off of a really great season with their quarterback being back. So I like Arkansas in this game against Cincinnati.
All right, phenomenal, Klatt. It's so good to hear your voice and know you're at a game site for tonight. This is so exciting.
Oh, man, I can't. Well, by the way, I just did a hit you guys probably can't see this kid. One of these kids in this picture right here. He camped out at Purdue, and I was like, "Why'd you camp out?" And he was like, "Because it's awesome." And I was like, "Well, how many people were in line?" And he was like, "I was the only one." I was like, "Well, then what was the need to camp out if you were the only one?" His name's Isaac. Tonight he's going to have a sombrero on. He took this Polaroid picture, gave it to me, and he was like, "Hey, would you just make sure tonight that you show me on TV and tell everybody at the Westminster Village, which is a retirement home where I work, they just get really excited when I'm on TV." And I'm like, "Yep, all right, Isaac, done.
You're going to be on
That
TV.
is fantastic.
That's my kind of guy right there, Isaac.
I hope he grows up to be a hell of an engineer at Purdue, too.
That's Georgia Tech.
Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, Klatt, thank you. See you tonight, buddy. We appreciate it.
See you, boys.
All right, buddy. Be
Love
good.
that guy.
Joel Klatt with us. Phenomenal stuff there.
You want pancakes.
West Lafayette, where Purdue is a 3.5-point underdog hosting Penn State. That game and all the games tonight at mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag. Bills and Rams kick it off a week from tonight in the NFL regular season. Get your winning season at mybookie.ag. They've got that double deposit bonus right now. $250 deposit gets $500 in your account when you use the code round. That is the code you need to use, next round. You use those funds to bet instantly on as many games, contests, and props as you want. Claim that bonus at mybookie.ag with the code next round. Bet on team win totals, predict the Super Bowl winner, use the MyBookie prop builder, and secure the bag. Your next winning season begins today at mybookie.ag, code next round.